What if the things you throw away could turn your backyard into something breathtaking? In today's video, I'll show you how eggshells, food cans, and old glasses can become stunning garden borders, patio fences, and small-space DIY decor. Welcome to Simply DIY, where creativity meets simplicity. Remember, these images are pure inspiration. If you love the ideas, take them, adapt them, and make them real with what you already have at home. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But every like, every comment, every subscribe means more than you know. When you support this channel, you're not just following a video, you're keeping a dream alive. Thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing me. Have you ever noticed how something as fragile as an eggshell can become a quiet work of art in your garden? Here, the soft whites and gentle browns of broken shells are not wasted, but reborn as a border that glows beneath the morning light. It frames the flower beds like delicate lace, guiding your eyes from one bloom to another. The beauty of this idea lies not only in its appearance, but also in its purpose. Eggshells are rich in calcium, slowly enriching the soil beneath, strengthening the roots of the plants they protect. You can crush them with your hands, let the pieces fall into place, and watch as they form patterns both natural and unique, never quite the same twice. Imagine walking along a small patio or backyard, where bright marigolds, fresh lettuce, or even simple daisies rise above this soft edging. It is practical, inexpensive, and deeply sustainable. Every meal that uses eggs leaves behind a gift, waiting to be returned to the earth in this gentle form. And perhaps, as you arrange them, you will find the process calming, turning an ordinary chore into a quiet ritual of care. This is the heart of DIY. Not perfection, but presence. A reminder that beauty can emerge from the most humble beginnings, if only we choose to see it. Sometimes, beauty begins with the things we almost throw away. An empty food can, simple and ordinary, can find a second life when touched with color and care. Picture a row of cans brushed in soft pastels, some glowing with turquoise, others alive with warm yellows. They hang gently on a fence, overflowing with blossoms that bend in the sunlight. These little planters are more than decoration. They are practical friends for anyone living with only a small patio or a narrow balcony. They welcome herbs like basil and mint, always within reach for your cooking, while filling the air with fragrance. And when you grow flowers inside them, they soften even the smallest corner of your yard, turning plain walls into living art. The joy of this project lies in its simplicity. Wash the cans, add a few small holes at the bottom for drainage, and paint them with the shades that make you smile. Tie them to a railing, rest them on a shelf, or let them swing from hooks on the wall. Each placement changes the rhythm of your garden, each color telling its own story. It is a gentle reminder that creativity does not demand a large space or expensive tools. With a handful of old cans and a little imagination, even the tiniest garden can become a sanctuary, alive, personal, and full of warmth. There is something magical about the way sunlight touches glass. In this garden, old bottles that once held nothing more than everyday drinks now stand as a gentle divider, shaping the space with color and light. Greens, ambers, and clear tones catch the day's warmth, scattering reflections that dance quietly across the soil. It feels simple, yet almost poetic, like turning fragments of the past into a present worth keeping. Creating a fence divider from glass bottles is not only about design, it is also about intention. Each bottle pressed into the ground or set within a wooden frame becomes a story, reminding us that waste can be transformed into wonder. The bottles form a low barrier, enough to define a flower bed or line a path, yet never blocking the view. Instead, they guide the eye, leading you gently along rows of blooming daisies, fresh herbs, or a trail of roses swaying in the breeze. Practicality hides within the beauty. Bottles are durable, they endure rain and sun, and they cost nothing but imagination. To make them your own, you can arrange them by color for a playful mosaic, or keep them uniform for a calmer, rustic charm. And the process itself, placing each piece carefully into the earth, becomes an act of patience and mindfulness. In the end, what you create is more than a fence. It is a living border of light and memory, a reminder that gardens flourish not only from soil and seeds, but from the quiet creativity we bring to them. Sometimes the smallest details hold the greatest secrets for a thriving garden. Along the edge of a simple flower bed, white fragments of eggshells glimmer softly in the sun, shaping the soil with their quiet presence. They look delicate, but within them rests a gift of calcium, slowly seeping into the earth, strengthening stems and nourishing roots. What seems like waste from your kitchen can, in truth, become food for life. The beauty of using eggshells as edging is that it feels both natural and effortless. Crush them gently in your hands, scatter them along the border, and watch as they create a rustic trim that separates the soil from the grass. Beyond their charm, they help deter slugs and pests, protecting your tender leaves without harsh chemicals. Over time, as the shells break down, they enrich the soil beneath, feeding every bloom and leaf that rises above. You do not need large land to try this. Even in a small raised bed on a patio, or along a tiny yard's edge, eggshell borders lend a handmade touch. They tell a story of care, of nothing wasted, of beauty born from the ordinary. And perhaps, as you walk past and see the way light falls on the shells, you'll be reminded that every piece of nature has a role, even the fragments we once overlooked. In small spaces, verticality is often the key to abundance. Imagine a quiet corner of your patio or backyard, where a simple tower of recycled food cans rises gracefully from the ground. Each can, once discarded, now holds life. Basil spilling over with fragrance, parsley standing tall, marigolds opening their bright faces to the sun. It is a sculpture of growth, built not from stone or marble, but from the humblest of materials. The beauty of this idea is how it bends practicality and art into one. By stacking cans, you free the ground while multiplying the space for planting. A single tower can feed you herbs for the kitchen, offer fresh lettuce leaves, and add splashes of color through flowers. And you can paint the cans to match your mood, soft pastels for calm, or bold reds and yellows for energy. The possibilities unfold gently, like branches of a tree, waiting for your touch. The process itself is simple. Clean the cans, pierce small holes for drainage, and stack them securely. Place heavier cans at the bottom, lighter ones above, and let each layer carry its own rhythm of greenery. Even in the smallest yard, this vertical planter can transform a plain wall into a living canvas, full of movement and color. It is more than just a garden trick. It is a reminder that beauty often comes when we look upward, when we let what was once trash become a tower of life, reaching for the sky. There is a quiet magic that happens when glass meets firelight. Along the edges of a simple fence, old cups are reborn as lanterns, each one holding a small flame that flickers gently in the evening air. The glow is soft, not harsh, wrapping the garden in a sense of calm. It is as if the space itself begins to breathe slower, inviting you to pause, to linger a little longer. This idea is beautifully simple, yet it transforms the atmosphere of even the smallest patio or backyard. You don't need expensive lights or complicated wiring, just a handful of cups that might otherwise gather dust in your cupboard. Place them securely along the fence, add small candles or even solar tea lights, and watch how the space changes as day folds into night. Beyond its charm, this DIY carries a feeling of intimacy. Imagine hosting a quiet evening with family or sitting alone in reflection, the garden lit by gentle points of fire, the flowers around you touched with warm highlights. The light guides the eye along the fence line, while the glass cups give each flame its own personality, some tall, some low, all unique. It is a reminder that sometimes the smallest gestures, like lighting a candle, can make the largest difference in how we feel in our own homes. With old glass and a little care, you can turn your fence into a path of light, a place where every evening feels like a gentle celebration. There is a gentle elegance in the way eggshells rest among blossoms, almost as if nature herself wanted to crown the flowers with a touch of white. When scattered around the base of marigolds, roses, or lavender, the shells brighten the soil, making every petal above them appear more vivid, every shade more alive. What once was discarded from the kitchen suddenly becomes an artist's brushstroke in the garden. This simple touch carries more than beauty. Eggshells, rich in calcium, slowly feed the roots that drink quietly beneath the earth. They guard against unwanted pests, while at the same time blending back into the soil over weeks and months. It is decoration with purpose, an accent that also gives life. You can choose to spread them loosely for a rustic charm or arrange them neatly like a trim to highlight the curves of your flower beds. Even a handful of shells is enough to change the way the garden feels. And perhaps the most rewarding part is the process itself, crushing the shells, letting them fall where they belong, watching as the ordinary becomes extraordinary. In a world that moves quickly, these tiny accents remind us to slow down, to notice details, to care for the ground that cares for us. And as you walk past your garden, the light catching on the shells, you may feel a quiet pride, that beauty has been created not by buying more, but by giving new meaning to what you already had. As daylight fades and the first shadows of evening stretch across the garden, something gentle begins to glow. Along the patio, humble food cans are no longer just containers of the past. With a coat of paint and a scattering of tiny holes, they come alive as lanterns, carrying light in the simplest, most beautiful way. Each candle within breathes warmth, and the patterns cut into the metal release it like starlight falling across the ground. This is the quiet poetry of upcycling, taking what was once overlooked and letting it guide the night. You don't need electricity, nor do you need to spend on new lights. A few cans, a nail to punch small shapes, and a flame placed inside. Suddenly your patio transforms into a place of comfort. The glow dances on the fence, reflects off nearby leaves, and makes even the smallest corner feel like an invitation to stay. It is not just decoration, it is atmosphere. A soft reminder that beauty comes in moments of stillness, when light flickers in the dark and you sit, breathing slowly, surrounded by a glow you created with your own hands. The garden becomes more than space, it becomes a retreat, lit not by power but by imagination. There is a certain calm that water brings to a garden, the soft ripple of its surface, the gentle reflection of sky and leaf. Now imagine that calm framed by glass, bottles, and cups once forgotten, now standing as a border of light around a simple water feature. Greens, blues, and ambers catch the sun, shimmering as though the water itself has found a partner in beauty. This is not a grand fountain. It doesn't need to be. Even a small basin or bowl, edged with glass, becomes a sanctuary for lilies, for goldfish, for the quiet play of light. It invites you to pause, to listen to the way water whispers when it moves, and to see how ordinary materials, when placed with care, can turn into something extraordinary. The making of it is as soothing as the finished piece. Press each bottle gently into the soil, secure them upright, and allow their shapes and colors to tell their own story. Clear glass reflects the purity of water, green blends with leaves, while blue recalls the sky above. With every placement, the garden begins to glow differently, as though painted with liquid sunlight. In the evening, when the air cools and the garden settles into stillness, the glass border remains, holding the day's light a little longer. And you realize that beauty here is not about size or expense. It is about the harmony between water, earth, and the things we choose not to throw away. Sometimes the most unexpected combinations create the strongest impressions. Along a simple garden bed, the brightness of eggshells lies gently on the soil, like tiny fragments of white lace, while painted cans rise at intervals, bold and colorful, standing as playful sentinels that shape the edge. Together, they form a border that is both rustic and joyful, a meeting of softness and strength. This blend is more than decoration. The eggshells slowly release nutrients, quietly feeding the roots beneath, while the cans, once containers of food, now hold life once again. Some may cradle small flowers, others may stand empty, their colors alone enough to brighten the garden. And in their union, something new is born, a border that feels alive, that shifts the garden from ordinary to extraordinary with just a few simple touches. The making of it is a gentle craft. You spread the shells with your hands, listening to them crack softly into the soil, then press the cans into the earth, each one a brushstroke of color. No two borders will ever be the same, because no two hands place them in quite the same way. That is the beauty of DIY. It carries the mark of the one who made it. As you step back and look, you see more than edging. You see resourcefulness, creativity, and care woven together. A reminder that when we mix what is fragile with what is strong, what is natural with what is man-made, we can shape gardens that speak in harmony, telling stories of renewal and possibility. There is a certain grace in seeing plants suspended in the air, as though they are quietly floating between earth and sky. Old glasses and jars, once forgotten in the back of cupboards, now cradle new life. Herbs spilling with fragrance, small flowers bending toward the sun, tiny succulents resting in clear vessels that catch the light like jewels. The beauty of hanging planters lies in how they change the rhythm of a space. On a balcony railing, they soften the hard lines of wood and metal. On a garden fence, they create vertical layers, adding depth and charm to even the smallest backyard. When sunlight passes through the glass, it paints soft patterns on the wall behind, turning something ordinary into a living artwork. It is simple to make, yet endlessly rewarding. A rope, a knot, and a glass are all it takes. Add soil, place your plant gently inside, and let it dangle where air and light can reach it. Herbs like mint and basil thrive this way, always within reach for your kitchen. Flowers like petunias or trailing ivy bring motion, as they sway gently with every breeze. In the quiet of the morning or the stillness of evening, these planters remind us that beauty often hangs in the balance, between reuse and renewal, between what we once discarded and what now gives us joy. They whisper a lesson in every leaf, that creativity is not bound by space, but only by the limits of imagination. There is a playful charm in seeing a fence built not from wood or stone, but from something as humble as old food cans. Standing side by side, painted in colors that catch the light, they form a border that feels both practical and artistic. A line of cans can guide the edges of a vegetable patch, frame a bed of flowers, or simply mark the boundary of a tiny corner where herbs quietly grow. This idea is more than decoration. It is a celebration of simplicity. Food cans are sturdy, already shaped to stand tall, and with a coat of paint or even left in their metallic sheen, they become small soldiers guarding the garden. Some can hold blossoms spilling over their rims, others can remain empty, reflecting sunlight and adding rhythm to the garden's design. It is a project that asks for little yet gives much in return. Collect the cans, pierce small holes at the bottom for drainage, paint them if you wish, then line them neatly in the soil. Arrange them evenly for order, or let their heights vary to create movement. Over time, the fence becomes more than an edge. It becomes part of the story of your garden, proof that beauty does not have to be bought, but can be built with what is already in your hands. And when you walk past, hearing the gentle rustle of leaves against this handmade fence, you may find yourself smiling, reminded that creativity often begins with the simplest of things. As the day softens into evening and the garden rests under the glow of fading light, all the small touches come together into one quiet masterpiece. Here, a border shaped by eggshells glimmers faintly, painted cans rise with herbs and flowers, and glass cups shimmer with the warmth of tiny flames. None of it feels grand or complicated, yet each piece carries its own story, each corner revealing the gentle hand of care. What makes this transformation meaningful is not perfection, but intention. A backyard or patio, no matter how small, can be reborn with imagination and a willingness to give old things new life. Eggshells from the kitchen, cans once emptied, glasses once forgotten, they find a second chapter here, bringing beauty where once there was nothing but waste. And this is the heart of DIY. The power to create spaces that reflect who we are, using what we already have. It is a reminder that gardens are not only for those with land or money, but for anyone who chooses to plant a seed, paint a can, or light a simple candle. Every small act adds up, until the garden itself becomes a reflection of care, creativity, and hope. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you don't just see recycled borders and fences. You see a story of renewal, written in color, texture, and light. And perhaps, in that moment, you'll feel the quiet joy of knowing that beauty has always been within reach, waiting only for your hands to shape it. Sometimes the most enchanting spaces are born when different ideas meet in harmony. A small side yard or a narrow balcony can hold a mosaic of creativity. Eggshells lining the soil like delicate lace, food cans stacked high with herbs and flowers spilling from their rims, and glass bottles pressed into the ground, glowing softly in the sun. It feels playful, handmade, and alive, each detail carrying the story of its origin. What makes this variation so powerful is its flexibility. You don't need to choose just one method. You can weave them together to match the rhythm of your space. A vertical tower of cans frees the floor, while crushed shells enrich and brighten the earth below. Bottles add structure, defining edges without stealing space, and a few hanging glasses filled with small plants can lift the eye upward, making even the tiniest corner feel expansive. The secret here is balance, combining without overcrowding, allowing each recycled piece to have its moment. And in that blend, You create a garden that feels layered, textured, and full of surprises. Step into it at sunrise and you'll see dew sparkling on the eggshells. Visit at dusk and candles in glass cups may turn the same space into a retreat of warm light. This is more than DIY. It's a gentle lesson in imagination. That when we stitch together small acts of creativity, we can transform even the most modest of spaces into a sanctuary. A place where nothing is wasted, and every detail, no matter how small, has meaning. In the smallest of spaces, creativity finds its purest form. A modest patio, a narrow balcony, or even the forgotten edge of a side yard can bloom with life when touched by simple hands and thoughtful reuse. Here, eggshells whisper at the feet of flowers, bright cans carry herbs that spill with fragrance, and glass bottles stand tall as gentle guides along the walkway. Together they weave a patchwork of color and texture, a quiet celebration of what can be made with so little. The charm of these ideas lies not in complexity, but in possibility. A few painted cans can rise as a vertical garden, turning bare fences into towers of green. Scattered shells brighten the soil while feeding it, ensuring blooms stay strong. Glass cups with tiny candles flicker softly in the evening, wrapping the space in warmth and calm. Each piece asks for nothing extravagant, only a willingness to see value where others might not. For those with tiny yards or narrow balconies, these touches prove that size is never a barrier to beauty. You can shape corners into sanctuaries, where every detail feels alive with purpose. And in the act of making, you find more than decoration. You find presence, a connection to the soil, the plants, and the quiet rhythm of your own care. Step back and you'll see that what was once small has become enough. A patio no larger than a few steps wide, yet rich with life, light, and color. A backyard no grander than a room, yet transformed into a haven. And in that moment, you understand, the true measure of a garden is not its size, but the heart poured into its creation.